fans, and welcome to your 6th episode of Red Flag. We're out here on Montgomery Lake in the beautiful Herman Park, so excuse the wildlife. First off, I want to congratulate my Houston Cougars on advancing to a 5-0 record, dismantling SMU in the second half and winning the game 49-28. Go Cougs. So, for today, I've got a recap of last weekend's games, any fantasy implications. We'll talk about injuries. We'll talk about a little bit of everything. I want to talk about the remaining undefeated teams in the NFL and who's for real and who's not. I want to have a little heart-to-heart with you about where you are this season. Are you 4-0? Are you 0-4? Or are you somewhere in between? And finally, we're going to give you a fantasy outlook and talk about some of the high points going into this Sunday. Okay, so first, let's dig into the London game. New York Jets versus Miami. So, Miami couldn't get anything going on the ground. Tannehill was overthrowing and underthrowing receivers. And in the end, it all resulted in a Joe Philbin getting fired. So things in Miami are in flux. I'm not saying don't start your Miami players, but do tread softly. A Jarvis Landry is a talent that you cannot keep on your bench. I have to roll with Tannehill just because he's my best quarterback at this moment. But things in Miami are definitely in flux, and you need to pay attention to the coaching situation moving forward. On the other side of the ball, the Jets looked pretty well. Chris Ivory trotted for 166 yards on the ground, which was very, very encouraging. Brandon Marshall had 128 yards in the air. So those two are pretty safe bets moving forward. And, okay, I'll say it. Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a good plug and play if you have a bye week, or if, let's say, your quarterback was Tony Romo and you need a replacement. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's got a pretty high floor. So, the Atlanta Falcons rolled over the Houston Texans 48-21. I think I told you last week to pay attention to the performance of a one Devontae Freeman just to see if his performance in previous weeks was the real deal. And he went up against a Houston D-line equipped with a J.J. Watt, a Vince Wilfork, and a Davian Clowney. Trotted for 68 yards, 81 yards in the air, and 3 touchdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, it's safe to start Devontae Freeman for the rest of the season. Oh, and this one guy named Leonard Hankerson, you may know him from the last episode. 6 receptions, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. Outshine Julio Jones on a day where Julio was seeing double and triple coverage. You're welcome. I'm going to keep referencing last week's episode because there was so much that I hit on. I don't want to be braggadocious, but Jeremy Hill did have 3 touchdowns. I said that it is a week or two too soon to cut your ties with Jeremy Hill, and if you listen, you're welcome. Cincinnati is rolling right now. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs 36-21. Andy Dalton has weapons everywhere. And I think this is Marvin Lewis's year to do some damage. Andy Dalton has A.J. Green, one of the best receivers, top 5 receivers in the league. Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones, Tyler Eifert, who's turning out to be a very serviceable tight end. Giovanni Bernard's back, and Jeremy Hill has finally regained some of that confidence he had last year. Look out, NFL. So it may seem like I'm just poking fun at Colin Kaepernick, and maybe I am. But the San Francisco offense is the gift that keeps giving to defenses. I do believe Green Bay scored a total of 20-some-odd points in my league this weekend, and it is all due to the ineptitude of a one Colin Kaepernick and a San Francisco 49ers offense. I mean, on the other side, Aaron Rodgers is going to do what he does. What's interesting, though, is the San Francisco defense was able to hold him to only 17 points, so maybe that's something they've got looking forward to. Hopefully, Coach Tom Sula can right the ship. At some point this season, they may have to change the offense completely. Bench Kaepernick or not? What started off as a duel between St. Louis and Arizona's kickers ended in Nick Foles and Todd Gurley's coming out parties. Nick Foles threw for 3 touchdowns on a great Arizona defense. Wow. No one expected that. I always knew he had a little in the tank. I liked Nick Foles when he played for Philadelphia. But did I think he was going to take a St. Louis Rams offense and throw 3 touchdowns against a Bruce Arians-led defense? No, I did not. And you can quote me, I said that I never liked Todd Gurley, probably would never like Todd Gurley, but he rushed for, I want to say, 146 yards. Welcome to the league, Rook. So the Denver Broncos clawed their way to another victory, advancing to 4-0 behind a lackluster performance by Peyton Manning, no run game to speak of, and a great defensive effort by that great Broncos defense. Held Adrian Peterson under 100 yards, even though he still had 86 on the ground and a touchdown. Told you this one was going to be a nail-biter, but due to the, offensive aptitude of the Peyton Manning, they're victorious once again. Whatever, who cares? The Sunday Nighter kept us all on the edge of our feet. New Orleans versus Dallas. Drew Brees got things back on track. 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, and found a new target in a Willie Snead. Gonna be a popular waiver wire ad this weekend. On Dallas side of things, the racking up injuries. Every week it's something else. Lance Dunbar out for the season. Sean Lee, concussion, probably going to be back next week. Depends on if he passes concussion protocol. The only thing I have to say about Dallas going forward is continue starting your Dallas running backs. You've got Joseph Randle, Darren McFadden, Christine Michael. Hopefully they do something. CJ Spiller for the New Orleans Saints got on track this weekend. He was catching balls out of the backfield, getting first downs, and on the game-winning drive went 80 yards in overtime to seal the victory for New Orleans. Hopefully the Saints can take this momentum and move into the next week. For the Monday night game, Seattle versus Detroit. I expected a Seattle rout. Didn't get that. What I did get is a great effort by the Seattle defense. Thank God Cam Chancellor's back. The defense is clicking on all cylinders. Held Detroit to 3 points. The only points scored, other points scored by Detroit were on a fumble by Russell Wilson that got ran back for a touchdown by Detroit's defense. So Detroit's offense virtually got nothing. Which brings me to the Seattle offense. Wow. They're just doing enough to win. Just enough to win, too. Because without Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, Thomas Rawls didn't get much going on the ground. I was glad to see Russell Wilson noticing the young rookie Tyler Lockett outside the hash marks, who led Seattle in receiving up until some last-ditch effort by Jermaine Kearse that went for 50 yards. Could have went to Tyler Lockett, help my fantasy team out, but that's just Russell Wilson. Beast mode, come back soon, please. this offense can start to click. Before this next segment, I want to talk about the undefeated team still left in the league. Who's for real? Who's not? This brings me to the 3-0 Patriots. Okay, guys, this is going to be a short segment. It's a no-brainer. Yes, the Patriots are for real. Tom Brady is hell-bent on proving that he is the best quarterback in the league today, if not the best quarterback ever. And I don't see anyone stopping that momentum. He's got too many weapons on offense with Gronkowski, Edelman, Dion Lewis, who just got signed to a new extension. Thank you, Dion Lewis. The Patriots are for real. Speaking of undefeated teams, this brings me to the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 4-0. About damn time, Marvin Lewis. Hopefully this translates to your first playoff victory. Not appearance, victory. Cincinnati's got weapons for days on offense. I can rattle them off. They're deep at every position. Doesn't matter what their defense is doing because their offense can clean that up in a heartbeat. Andy Dalton is an average quarterback, but he's got well above average, if not excellent weapons, and he's doing the most with them. So yes, your Cincinnati Bengals are for real. Congratulations, Marvin Lewis. You bought yourself probably another 2 to 3 years, you long-tenured coach. The Denver Broncos are 4-0. Yeah, so what? It's not because of Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's doing just enough to win games on the offensive side. I credit Denver's 4-0 record to a outstanding, just great, all-time great defense. I mean, they've got Von Miller, TJ Ward, Brandon Marshall, the linebacker, can cover tight ends. They got Chris Harris Jr., Talib, DeMarcus Ware, Trevathan. The list goes on and on and on. Denver defense is for real. Peyton Manning's just enough to keep the ship at bay. 4-0 Broncos are for real. The Green Bay Packers sport a 4-0 record behind the brilliance of an Aaron Rodgers. And I guess I have to say it. The defense looks really good this year. Clay Matthews, the inside rushing the passer, is just phenomenal. Julius Peppers on the edge. Wow. I like the Green Bay Packers. The defense is a lot better than advertised. And I mean, when you've got an Aaron Rodgers on the other side of the ball, only good things can happen. So yes, the 4-0 Green Bay Packers are indeed the real deal. The Atlanta Falcons of the NFC South are 4-0. This offense is explosive. A little hiccup from Julio Jones doesn't detract me. I still think he is in store for a historic season. Leonard Hankerson has snatched the wide receiver 2 reins from a Roddy White. Devontae Freeman is trotting his way into top 5 running back territory. This offense can carry this team as far as they want to go. And the defense, although not the best defense I've ever seen, they're giving maximum effort. And as a coach, that's what you want. So, I believe in this 4-0 Falcons team. Take it to the bank. So I've talked about all the undefeated teams, and I've deemed them all the real deal. This brings me to my last undefeated team, the Carolina Panthers of the NFC South. They are not the real deal. Cam Newton is overperforming with one weapon on offense in Greg Olsen. Running game hasn't really got on track besides Cam Newton. The defense has been pretty stout, but I attribute the 4-0 record to a very, very weak schedule. Wins against the Jaguars, Tampa Bay, Houston, and the Saints, asterisk with Luke McCown. Cam hasn't played anybody. after his bye week this weekend, we get to see what Cam's made of when he goes up against the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom. If he gets to 5-0, we might have to revisit this conversation. Until then, sorry Cam, you've played some menial teams. So I want to take a little time and reflect on where you are this season in fantasy. Are you 4-0? Are you 0-4? Are you somewhere in between? So, if you're 4-0 or 3-1, congratulations. You drafted well. You played the waiver wire. Health has been on your side, but don't get too cocky. It's still a little early. So, if you are 2-2, you've experienced success and you've also tasted failure. So, to look on the positive side, I guess you're battle tested. Probably been holding on to certain players for a little too long. Your CJ Andersons, What you need to do is go with your gut. Indecision is your worst enemy, you 2-2ers. So guys, if you're 1-3, all isn't lost. You've probably been hit by the injury bug, maybe made a questionable trade or two. What you need to do is pound the pavement to get serviceable players off of the waiver wire and make some more practical trades that help you in the long run. Maybe trade one of your bigger guns to get 2 lesser players, but more consistent players. And now, if you are 0-4, it's too early to lose faith, but it is probably time to panic. It's definitely time for something drastic. You need a huge trade overhaul. Be ready to part with your big guns. You need to get players that are serviceable, that are going to be consistent, that aren't going to give you the constant headaches that you're dealing with week to week, banking in on these boomer bust players like the Deshaun Jacksons of the world. You need to get some meat and potatoes, get back on track, be ready to make some big changes. I dropped Moncrief. I don't like Dante Moncrief. I dropped him and picked up Amir Abdullah. And that's just for running backs. That's all I looked at was running backs. You go back to your waiver wire, you got decent. You still have decent quarterbacks. Go to the receivers. There's Brandon Cooks. He was supposed to be some number this year. Leonard Henderson, one of my favorites. Travis Benjamin. He's a boomer bust, but he's been moving a lot lately. Michael Floyd's on your waiver. Percy Harvin's on your waiver.
This is like killing you.
This is killing me.
Does it show how much we suck?
Basically, all I'd have to do is pay attention. This league, if you pay attention, just spend one night looking at stats. Just do it after.
Start
at
watching
the end
your
of
show.
Watch the show. I can help you out. Because in this league, you should win. Because the waiver wire has a ridiculous amount of talent on it. And these players aren't on my waiver. Like Kendall Wright's not on there. Brandon Cooks, Terrence Williams, Leonard Henderson, Michael Crabtree, John Brown, Ruben Randall. These people are all earned. Wow. I can even fix you. Let's see what your tight end looks like.
I'm glad I walked out.
You got tight ends. Jimmy Graham, like I said, he's a top talent, but I just don't trust him for them. Jared Cook's on there. What's his name? Roy Rogers. He plays for Green Bay. He's Aaron Rodgers tight end. But yeah, you've got there's a lot of people on this waiver list.
You can find it on this website here. Well, you can find it on Twitter. You'll have the website listed. It'll show up on Twitter sometime tomorrow. The show that we're doing today. You can see the other stuff on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
This is like the 6th one we've done. since the season started.
Do you have a lot of people watching?
My best video got 100 views, so it's a small
Starting off.
victory.
Yeah.
You just text me any questions you have. But there's a ton of talent on that waiver wire that you can add to.
Yeah. I'll have to, okay, so drop on Creed. Pick up Amir.
Amir,
Abdullah.
thank you.
Yeah. I guess I'll let y'all get to your show.
Oh.
I appreciate it. My
Hey,
name's Elena. If you get a
Alina,
text
you're
from
part of the show today. We're going to take a little bit out. We'll take some. It's just so impromptu and so wonderful. I'm Ricardo, senior. That's junior.
Okay.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet y'all as well.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything. And
Okay, get in
hopefully
touch. Get
hopefully
hooked
I'll
up.
win.
Okay, enjoy your day.
So this is the fantasy football forecast. Call me Al Roker. We had the Thursday nighter last night, and the grumpy old men, Hasselbeck, Johnson, Gore, were victorious. Do I think that that's okay to start Andre Johnson? Hell no, I don't. But it looks like Frank Gore has things on track. Go ahead and give him the start. If you didn't have Vinatieri starting and you had him on your roster, shame on you. Houston seemed to get a little bit of momentum, but who's going to start at quarterback? They switched quarterbacks sometime in the second quarter. Brian Hoyer took over, had some great plays, had some dopey plays. Too much influx in Houston to have any security there. I would feel secure about starting a DeAndre Hopkins going forward. Arian Foster showed some signs that there's still life in those legs, so go ahead and fire him up. Other than that, not even the Houston defense is worth a nod. We've got Seattle, Cincinnati. Alright, Cincinnati. We see you're 4-0. It's time for you to show if you're the real deal. You are going to be facing off with the Legion of Boom. Are your weapons for real? When it comes to Seattle, Russell Wilson's always a fairly safe start. He's got a very high floor, and if you're a safe player like myself, that spells security. I like the emergence of Tyler Lockett, especially if your league counts return yardage. Tyler Lockett's going to be a stud in this league, and he garnered 5 targets last Monday. Expect for him to see more. If you have Jimmy Graham, you have to start Jimmy Graham. I think that I think that Cincinnati's offense is going to force Seattle to throw more, which spells more third down conversions and goal line targets for Jimmy Graham. Thomas Rawls had a fairly lackluster outing last week, spelling Marshawn Lynch. If Marshawn Lynch is back, I actually like Thomas Rawls more if Lynch is there, as more of a change of pace back. When he's the lead back, I think his runs are pretty predictable. Defenses stop him up at the line. I'm not really encouraged, so pay attention to Marshawn Lynch's status in deciding your pick for Lynch and or Rawls. Washington Redskins versus the Atlanta Falcons. It is safe to start every single Atlanta Falcon you have. Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman, Julio Jones, Leonard Hankerson, hell, maybe even Roddy White. Not Roddy White. When it comes to Washington, the only safe bet in my view is Pierre Garçon, maybe a Alfred Morris or a Matt Jones, but Jordan Reed is out. He's under concussion protocol. He's got a sprained MCL. Yes, Jordan Reed is injury prone. We should have known this coming into the season. That doesn't change the fact that he is a talent at the tight end position. If you need a plug-and-play quarterback, you can do a lot worse than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to be more than serviceable in this game. He's going to be going up against Atlanta. It's going to be in a shootout. Start Kirk Cousins. Got the New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. This game spells a shootout. Start all of your New Orleans skill positions. Drew Brees, Marcus Colston, Willie Snead, CJ Spiller, Mark Ingram. Even give Brandon Cooks a nod. When it comes to Philadelphia, personally, I've never trusted a single receiver on that roster. Don't ask me about them, I'd sit them all. When it comes to the running backs, DeMarco needs a good game. God, if he needed a good game. I think the Saints are going to deliver and open up some holes and give him that good game. Start DeMarco Murray. Start Darren Sproles. Sam Bradford got the hot hand last week. If you want to start him, go ahead. That's a high risk, high reward that I would be willing to take. I want to highlight the St. Louis Green Bay game. St. Louis has been pretty stingy to quarterbacks that aren't mobile. Aaron Rodgers is mobile. Russell Wilson put up 31 points against the St. Louis Rams, albeit in a losing effort. But I hate to say it, Russell Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers. So I believe Aaron Rodgers is going to throw up some pretty good numbers this game. Start your Aaron Rodgers. Don't start Eddie Lacy because St. Louis Rams are run stoppers. When it comes to St. Louis, I think Foles found a little touch against an Arizona defense last weekend, and I think that's going to spill over into this weekend against an above-average Green Bay defense. So, if you need a plug-and-play, Nick Foles is a good option. I'd go ahead and start your St. Louis skill players as well. Tavon Austin, Todd Gurley. Other than that, sit the rest. New England Patriots are coming off of a bye week and have had, God, it seems like all the time in the world to prepare for a ill-equipped Dallas team. God bless the Dallas Cowboys in this one. They can keep lauding the offensive line all they want. It's not going to be something they can hide behind when facing the New England Patriots. The only way Dallas can even remotely stay in this one is to keep the ball on the ground and out the air. You don't want Tom Brady throwing against a Brandon Wheaton. Doesn't spell victory for the Dallas Cowboys. So, start your Dallas running backs. Your Joseph Randle, Darren McFadden, Christine Michael might be another change of pace back, maybe a third down back that they throw in there. But other than that, I don't trust Brandon Wheaton in this one. Maybe, perhaps later on in the game, there's going to be a comeback, come from behind effort. Might be some garbage stats to pick up for a Terrence Williams, but I don't trust any Dallas receivers in this one. On the other side of the ball, start every single New England player you have. Your quarterback in Tom Brady. Dion Lewis just got signed to an extension. Start him. Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. I want to highlight the Denver Bronco Oakland Raider matchup this weekend. I know I've been high on the Oakland Raiders as of late, and I'm going to take it one step further. Upset alert. The Broncos defense hasn't faced a mobile quarterback the likes of Derek Carr, with the weapons that Derek Carr has on offense. Marcel Reese, Latavius Murray, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree. This team's pretty stacked on offense, and it's time for the league to take notice. What better sacrificial lamb than the Denver Broncos? On the defensive side, I think the Oakland Raiders front seven has enough firepower to force Peyton Manning into some pretty questionable throws. Gonna knock the old man off his rocking chair. I like every Oakland Raider that I just named. On the Denver side, you got Peyton, you gotta start Peyton. If you've got Demarius, you gotta start Demarius. If you've got Emmanuel, you've gotta start Emmanuel. I don't trust any Denver running back. Even though I have one on my bench, I'm looking to ship him off. If you want him, you can have him. C.J. Anderson. Take him off my hands, please. I do like Oakland in this matchup. Take it to the bank. Which brings us to the Monday nighter. My Pittsburgh Steelers versus the San Diego Chargers. Pittsburgh had the Thursday night game last week, so they've had 11 days to prepare Michael Vick for what he's going to see going up against San Diego. I think those 11 days are enough to get Michael Vick his first victory in the black and yellow. Le'Veon Bell. You have to start Antonio Brown, who's going to see a lot more balls than we saw last week. Mark my words. There are going to be a lot more slants, a lot more bubble screens, more crossing patterns. Whatever it takes to get Antonio Brown open, Mike Tomlin has explored it, and Michael Vick will execute this weekend. San Diego, there's a lot of injury going on over there. I say it's only safe to start Melvin Gordon, Danny Woodhead, Keenan Allen. Antonio Gates is returning from suspension, and he's been Phillip Rivers' favorite target for I don't know how many years. It's too far back to even count. Antonio Gates is going to garner anywhere from 7 to 9 targets, so he's worth a start. Other than that, we're going to see a Pittsburgh victory. Okay. That's all for this week, sports fans. Take the next day or two and tweet me at Ricardo Middleton. Any fantasy advice, questions, starter sit, I'll be answering all of them in due time. Tune in next week for episode 7. Thanks for listening. Bye.